All right, here we go. So I'm gonna make myself. So last night I made a another hand for my robot. So there it is. There's my clamp hand that I made for my robot. So right now I'm gonna make a more humanoid hand for my robot, and we're gonna start with cylinder, which we need to scale down. I can actually start with almost any object because this hand is going to be very much humanoid hand. We're going to spend a lot of time cutting. I'm going to use the cut tool, the new knife curve. I really fell in love with this tool. It actually works really, really nicely. It's not hard to use. I've seen a few people have trouble with it, but then again, a lot of these cut curve tools or clipping curve tools, they're not the most wonderful tools in the, or they're not the most robust tools in the Zbrush pipeline, but this one's not too bad. Turn that on. Ugh. That looks like garbage. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of some of these soft edges. I'm going to put in knuckles in here in a second, but I also got this app which doesn't seem to be working. Hold on a second. Is it working now? Yep, I want to show my keystrokes. One of my friends suggested I show keystrokes, so we're going to be doing that. We're going to reduce the resolution on this to try and get more of a hard surface feel out of this object while we're working on it. Alright, that'll do. Alright. I almost need, because I've got so many windows open now, I almost need three windows, which is kind of crazy. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to get this guy sized up to be the palm of the hand, and then we'll take I'm going to make a duplicate just for measurement for the fingers. We're going to squish this. I want a thickness that feels good. This is a throwaway piece of geometry. I'm not really concerned about it. I just want it there so I have a really good idea about the length of my fingers and the rough contour that I'm going to need. We're going to do like this. We can actually use this in our object because it's kind of like this mitten shape. It vaguely looks like it so vaguely looks like a hand now. One really nice trick to get rid of seams like this, instead of hitting this with like a polish, or not polish, instead of hitting this with a smooth, which will work to some degree. You can see I'm using Sculpt Pro. That'll work to some degree. What works a little bit better is H-polish, and if you scrub, you can get a nice contour there. I'm going a little heavy. I'm extending beyond the edges and such. It's not really the best way of doing this. But if I turn off Sculpt Pro, now I've got Sculpt Pro set to my hotkey G. The G used to be part of the projection tool set. It's very much a legacy tool for me. Legacy as in it was early in the software's development and not something I use very much. In fact, I don't really use projection, the projection system at all now. I think I've got it switched, yeah. Right now I've got it switched. This is the projection master. I don't use the projection master at all. I've got it switched to Shift G, which I may also remove at some point, because I like using G. I'm using smooth now just because it's faster. There we go. We'll scrub that edge. Let's scrub that edge. Yeah. So if I really want to get this looking more like fingers, I can do more to it. But right now I'm just trying to get the overall surface cleaned up. And that is weird, and I don't know why it did that, because it shouldn't have. So we're going to do auto groups, and we're going to turn on groups, we're going to turn blur down, we're going to, there we go, that's better. And then we're going to taper this. So if I mask this, and then, that was an inversion mask, and I'm going to just taper this. We use soft deform, I'll get better results with that. We're just going to scale this down. Alright, again, this is really just a stand-in for me, so I'm going to actually split this off. I should have done this earlier, but turn off groups, by the way. And then we're going to go ahead and split hidden. We'll take a look at plugging that in right there, and that feels good. Taper that down a little bit. So the hand really doesn't have the right shape. The palm doesn't really have the right shape, and since this is the trunk or the root of all the things that are going to come off of it, I really want to try and knock that out and make that look nice. And what that just means is I want to make it tapered, I want to round it a little bit. I'm going to turn off the clamp. Let me minimize this. Now I'm waiting for a guest. Vincent's gonna, my friend Vincent's gonna join us for a minute. I want to go over how I built this. This is not complicated whatsoever. Basically, it is the blades of the clamp, some joints, and then 3 or 4 sets of rotation or pivot. So if I go in here, these guys, the clamp is supposed to rotate around this pivot, and then this allows me to get some of that wrist action left and right. So we could actually, if I were to bulk this down or block this, if I were to merge this into a pile. I want to be able to do this motion with this, and yes, I'm getting interpenetration up here in the wrist area, but I don't care, because I would modify these if I was really too concerned about that. Then there's the rotation up here with these parts. So I'm trying to get X, Y, and Z rotation on this. Oddly, the part that I really want you guys to see is this one. This was made from a sphere. It's probably the simplest part in the whole group, and the main purpose of this is so that I can get this kind of rotation, which in this case is my Y rotation, because ZBrush is Y up, and Z is the direction of the canvas, or in this case, if we're looking at the world space, it's the direction of the character up here. So technically, I try and build in Z, build in the direction of Z facing forward. But I've got a bad habit because I've been using ZBrush so long. I actually work in negative Z occasionally because I'm not paying attention. But this icon, this character icon, has really helped with that. So this object is it's not a classical joint system for a clamp or a claw. It's just something that I wanted to put together that I knew would give me most of the shapes that I wanted. And this object here has got some creases. That's what the double dotted line looks like. I wish the crease line was a little bit more apparent, but overall I know what I'm looking for. I just know that some new people are going to get confused by it. But you can see that this looks like it'll work, and that's really kind of the point. I made claws with a couple of different blades and a couple of different heads. So some of the alternate blades have more holes in them. Okay, so that's the original one. So this was one that I did early on, and then we have the modified one, which has this option, which I like. It has a bladed option, and then it has the sort of gripper option. So that was really quick and easy to do. I could do some modifications to the blade, to the blade teeth themselves, or the tine. I don't know. I don't have the right name for this object, but I'm not too concerned about it. It looks good. It feels good. If I really need to do something with it, I can. But right now, I'm not too concerned about it. So that was what I did last night, and for my robot. I got to work on legs and feet and sneakers and boots soon, but I wanted to get a couple hands done because hands for these guys can be a little difficult. So I'm going to do a basic humanoid hand. We'll turn the clamp off. We'll do a basic humanoid hand, and we'll try and get this guy looking right. So first thing I want to do is I want to kind of get the right tapers on this. So we're going to move to move infinite. We're going to sort of pull, we're going to pull the base around a little bit and sort of taper the center. And usually the middle finger sits higher. And also, I want to get some contour on this before I dynamesh this. So I'm going to go ahead and set my tool to the world. I'm going to go ahead and use bend arc. I'm going to grab the green control and give it a little bit of bend. And we'll take a look at that and see how that looks. That feels good to me. I'd like to taper it down a little bit more again, but we're going to rebuild it first. And then at some point I need to get a thumb in there. But for the moment, we're just going to take off some edges. In this case, I'm going to use Smooth with Sculptris Pro turned on. The reason I'm doing this instead of polishing it is I'm early enough in the modeling. And this is modeling. This is not just sculpting. Because I'm thinking about the various parts that I have here. So what I want to do is I want to punch holes in here for each of the knuckles, and I want to get the right look and feel for this hand. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab move infinite. We're going to make the knuckles a little bit wider. We're going to taper this down a bit. I'm going to use, because I really want to get a really cool effect up here in the corner, I'm going to use a clipping circle. I'm going to mask this portion because I don't want to affect that area. And we're going to run this guy at this angle. We'll have to run it twice, it looks like, because I just don't have the geometry to carry that. So what I'm doing is I've got the clipping circle, right? And then I press Alt to make it negative or dark. And you can see how it builds up the surface. That'll do. And that's actually for, there's a pad on the outside of, lower outside of your hand. That's really what that's for. I can integrate that a little bit better. I'm not worried about it right now. I'm just trying to get it in place so that I know that it's there. And the hand's a little bit big. I'm not too concerned about that, but I'm gonna already start scaling it to get it feeling more like what I want it to feel like. I want it to feel a little toony, just like the rest of this, because I don't want to spend, so that means I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I need to make sure all the major all the major shapes are showing up. Just so you guys know, I also have, because I use spacebar to adjust my brush sizes and my focal shift and all that other stuff, I've actually switched S to my solo mode, because solo is so important for me, because I usually work with models that have like hundreds of pieces. It's one of the reasons that I have S switch set to solo, because I'm using it all the time to isolate an individual part. I kind of wish Zbrush had a few features with their folder system that other software has, but you know, can't get everything in life. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm debating this right now. I'm debating whether or not to use a sphere or to use a cylinder. What I want to do is I want to place knuckles and turn this into a negative so that I can put joints in here that will make sense for the character. I don't need to get complicated. I'm just thinking about, you know, how am I going to represent joints? I have mixed feelings about this already. But we're going to try it anyway. Let's see what happens. that did not do. I knew that wasn't going to do what I wanted it to do. I'll have to do this a different way. So normally what I would do is, I thought the Boolean would be a good way to cut out the shape, but because the shape is so irregular, it may just be better to use the clipping curve, which is what I think I'm going to be using, because then I can situate the knuckles that I want to get into. So we're going to build a basic knuckle. I'm going to use a cylinder. I'm going to set this guy to my middle finger location, because that's where all the action's going to come from for this character, or for this hand. And since this is going to be a special piece, I'm going to go ahead and split this off. And we're just going to give this a middle section. We're going to use a lot of Z modeler. So BZM, insert, set it to multiple. We're going to go ahead and give it a fat middle section. That's where the joint action is going to come from. So we're going to go ahead and set to Q mesh, polygroup all, and we're just going to pull that out so you can see how that's going to work. So that's the basic shape right there. I want to get more of a dome shape on the sides, so we're going to go ahead and bevel these guys. I'm going to set, I'll get my local symmetry turned on. I'm going to hit X. X isn't going to work. So X turns on your symmetry. We're going to go ahead and press, I've got a hotkey for this, so I'm going to activate my symmetry, but I think it's Z that I want. Yes. Okay. So you can see that on the far side, that the component, in this case it's edges mostly, then vertices, and then faces, is being represented. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and bevel this edge loop, just like that. Now I want to pull the whole thing up, but I know that that's going to work. Now I've selected this side, but if I turn on double, I can see both sides. So we're going to hit auto group. We're going to go ahead and hide this. Make these guys the same. We're going to inflate this part here. Inflate, polygroup all. So I'm picking the action, and then I'm picking the target. It's really not that complicated, and in fact it's a really useful system once you start to learn how to use it. Alright, so from here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the same thing for this edge here. And then we're going to go ahead and grab this edge, we're going to switch to side, complete edge loop, we're going to slide that down. And that was slide, not side. I don't know why I said that. I want sort of this domed effect. We're going to use a clipping curve. Clipping curve is just smashes things in a direction. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to run creases. We're going to run crease with 45% crease edge tolerance, which means it's going to grab all these high areas. And since it's a knuckle and I don't need to spend a lot of time on it, that'll work just fine. So it looks like a knuckle to me. It's going to operate like a knuckle. I might bevel this outer edge, mostly because if your edges are too harsh, they don't look right. And it's probably better to just sort of bevel them. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to bevel these guys gently. And I can add the crease again, but I'm also going to do this. I'm going to go and grab this guy and pull that up just slightly. This will catch light a little bit better if I go to render. We're going to crease that. We're going to turn the tolerance down to 30 and then crease that. So, yeah. So that to me looks like a knuckle. I'm not super thrilled about this. Ugh. In fact, I'm going to try something right now to see if I can fix this. So I know I use one method to fix it, but I'm going to try something else. I'm going to try split. I wish there was a better way of doing it so it didn't look like a button or like there was a button pucker on there. I hate how it handles that intersection. You know, that might, look at that, that might do the trick right there. Yep. So that takes care of that. So what's going on there? So for those of you that don't know, what I did was I can take, and my target is a vertice. So I just grab vertice, I set the action split. It's going to be a point. I think I can set it to a ring too. I'm going to leave it alone. We're going to do a point. And what it does is that you can see it creases the outer edge. That's easier in some respects than what I used to do, which was to bevel this, slide it in, and then crease that inner edge, and that would reduce or eliminate the pucker action. See this pucker action here? I absolutely hate it. It's completely unnecessary to go and fiddle with that, but it's the kind of thing that makes me nuts about poles. It just really bugs me to death. I wish that the software handled poles a lot better. Apparently it doesn't know how to split that vertex. What the heck? And no, we wait for autosave. Yay! So while this is doing its autosave thing, there we go. Let's go back and see what's going on. Let's try this again. We're going to go ahead and do it like this. Do it on the other side. Huh. I must have a vertex problem. Weird. Alright, so it doesn't like it. I don't care. I'm going to force it to happen through mirror and weld. If mirror and weld is turned on, if local symmetry is turned on when running mirror and weld, you should be able to get projection. There we go. Left and right. And now I've got a joint. Yes. So what I'll end up having to do is I'll end up having to carve out a space for the joint in the hand. But for now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and position these guys so that I have finger locations. And index and ring finger really should be very close or similar in position. And then pinky will fall a little bit further back. This isn't true with everybody's hand, but it's true with most hands, and since I'm modeling this more off of how my hand is laid out, I'm going to use that. And for whatever reason, don't run Dynamesh. I don't know why I did that. I'm just going to clear the mask. I do need to run crease. I want to keep that bevel. There we go. So now it catches light really well. So if I come in here and do just a basic render, that'll look nice. And there's a couple of things I can do. So you can see here that the bevel's showing up. I'm getting this nice clean transition here. I'm getting, so it goes light, dark, dark, light, dark. So I'm getting that sort of like cascading effect, and it looks really nice to me. That's one of the reasons I like to bevel corners. I don't like 90-degree corners on hard surface stuff unless there's a really good reason for it. You look at a lot of hard surface stuff, and you can find hard 90-degree corners, but most of the time you don't. In fact, my keyboard is machined aluminum, and the outer edge is just cut off. It's a stark 90-degree corner, and it looks very different than everything else, and it also has a very unpleasant hand feel, meaning that the surface, touching the surface, feels really weird. There's reasons to do it. I'm just fussy about not doing it on parts like this. Alright, so one of the things I could do is I can cut away from the hand to show off the knuckle. So we're going to try that first, but what I think I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up doing a small carving like shape, and then I'm going to end up putting like a cap or a cover on it, a little shield. So we're going to go with our clipping circle again. We're going to try this. We're going to see what happens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this at an angle, because what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to knock back the geometry to show off the joint. And you can kind of see where I'm going with this, but it didn't do a very nice job because I just don't have enough geometry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn the Dynamesh up to 200. That's a little light, so we're going to turn it up to 555. That'll work. That'll do, pig. And of course, there's always a pig. press Alt, punch that through. It's not very clean or pretty, but I'm really just looking to see. I'm looking to see if I can get the desired result more than anything else. Because I can always go back in and fix this stuff. I'm kind of getting the desired result, but it looks a little funky. So we're going to go in, we're going to do that again, but we're going to use the slice curve. There's a slice curve for circles. That way I can throw away the geometry that I don't want. Yes. Slice circle. So we're gonna go for the perimeter of the joint, like that. Let's see what that looks like. Auto group. So what I'm going to try and do right now is I'm going to try and keep the geometry, but we're going to use the clipping curve and just see if we can't get this to drop into place here. The reason I want to throw away the geometry is I'd like to have some sort of backing. Backing as in I want something behind the surface to sort of act as a filling agent. Didn't do it exactly the way I would have liked, so we're just going to go with straight. And in this case, we'll pull the knuckles up. Not super happy with this yet, but it's getting there. I may use covers instead of cutouts like this. Because this hand is supposed to, like I said, it's supposed to look a little cartoony. I don't need it to really function in the same way that, say, for instance, an Iron Man suit kind of character, which is kind of hyper real, would have to work. So I think I'm just going to use covers. It'll be easier. It'll be easier and smarter and faster, which is always a good idea. So instead, what I think I'm going to do, we're going to try this. We're going to go ahead and set our tool and drop it here. Let's see. Yeah, that kind of thing would work better. So we're going to undo that. We're going to go ahead and rebuild this object. Now I can fiddle around with this quite a bit, but I think what I'm just going to do is I'm going to use an insert. One of the inserts I have has a dome shape to it. Let's try this one. So I have one of these guys, and it has a half dome. I might be buying another tool set for IMMs. IMM stands for Insert Multi-Mesh. I think this one has it. This one's set up for negative. This is what I'm looking for, the dome. Wish I had more of a geometric dome shape, kind of like this, but taller. But we're going to go ahead and go with this for now and see how that looks. Don't do that. I wish we had better world snapping in Zbrush, but like I said earlier, you know, can't be too fussy about it. You can get most of the things done without getting too worked up about it. Not super thrilled with that, but like I said, this is kind of a cartoon version of a robot, so we may just have to accept that. But I'm going to probably take the edges down. give myself something more of a beveled look. So I'm not sure. I'm probably not going to do too long a video today. I'm just going to do. I might just do the block out. At this stage, we're kind of pretty deep into this. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do the fingers yet, but we'll do them. We'll see what happens. So I'm just letting you guys know that I'm not going to spend too much on this. What I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to fix these knuckles a little bit so that they're not so, or these covers. I'm going to split those off. I'm going to fix these covers so they're not so. They don't look ready. They don't look ready for prime time. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to try beveling the edges and then extruding the bevel. That might give me the result I'm looking for. There's two ways I can do this. I'm going to go with this one where I grab the edge and I bevel it. And because I want that bevel to cascade down across all of these, I'm going to hit all of them real quick. And then I want them all to be the same, so we're going to switch out. Control W to make them all the same. Polygroup. QMesh polygroup all. And yeah, having a little bit of a roundness is kind of nice. Let's see how that works. Not too shabby, but not really what I'm looking for. They look like little. They look like something out of Mega Man. So we're gonna go ahead and extrude this again, and then we're going to extrude it really close so we get that sort of hard-edged look. It's a little bit better. Let's see here, what else can we do? I think what we'll do is we'll go with another insert. And in this case, we'll see if we get one that makes sense for the cover. I was hoping I had something that would sell this as an additional part, but I'm not really seeing what I want. I could kind of want to just plop something on the back end here. I'm not really liking that though. It just doesn't feel right. And from out here, you know, maybe I don't need it. So let's move on to making a couple of fingers. I'm not going to get too crazy with fingers. I think I'm going to make it's going to be more like a claw kind of component. I should do a thumb also, but I need to. You know what? Let me do one more thing because this is going to bug me. Let's do selection lasso. So we're going to do selection lasso, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to flatten the back. So let's go ahead and selection lasso. See where that sits. That's probably about right. You're probably thinking, okay, how am I going to make this one exactly the same? I'm not too fussed with it. I'm just going to grab the one that it looks like it's supposed to be. Not too worried about this stuff. Most of the time I can get it pretty close and be happy with it. Alright, that'll work. We do auto groups. We're going to get rid of these caps. Alright, and then we're going to delete hidden and close holes, and some of them show through more than others. And that's probably that's mostly the contour of the hand, but I can always do more to make these guys more apparent. So for instance, these two guys are not the same, but they should be, because of the way that I move them into space. Ugh, I hate that cap. We're going to go ahead and delete this loop. set this to delete, and we'll go to polyloop, and bam. So there we go. And we'll do the same up here, and that should do it. And now we're going to close these guys. Actually, you know what? We're going to use collapse hole. We're going to try that. We're going to do that instead, because then I get a bit of an angle. It's not too sharp. I'm still going to run crease edges on this. Oops, not going to do that. So now these look like little covers, and I think that's where we're going to leave it right now. Hopefully I'll show you more modifications to the hand later. But yeah. Again, if you have questions or you want to leave comments, you guys want to talk about this kind of stuff, let me know.